Welcome back to Basin Motorsports. So today I'm going to show you how to build a frugal sanding and paint booth inside of the garage. So now when I built my wide body and did a lot of the fiberglass work, one of the things that I really regretted is that I didn't have any way to control the amount of dust that went everywhere in the garage. So now that I'm doing here with the 86 hatchback, I'm now sanding body filler. And I can tell you what, just hand sanding alone has covered dust probably in a good 10-foot wide path. So today I'm going to build basically an enclosure, a frugal, cheap enclosure that anybody can do, and it's going to keep the dust down, basically just contained into with the car itself. So some of the pieces I'm going to be using are going to be, I'm going to use 20 pieces of 3/4 inch PVC, and I'm going to use a 10-foot wide by 100-foot long 4mm roll of plastic. Both of those were bought at Home Depot. Over here I've got my connectors. So here in my corners you've got 3-way connectors, which will be corners, and I've got 4-way connectors, which will be the center points. Now both of those were bought from Greenhouse Megastore, and then I've also got clamps here that clip onto the PVC to hold it down. These are also bought from Greenhouse Megastore. These are packages of 10. They are 4 of those, so it'll be 40 total. I bought a little extra just because I didn't know exactly how many I'd need, and I'd rather have too many than not enough. Now all of those items can either be bought locally if you have like a Home Depot or a home improvement store. You may be able to find the connectors. I really couldn't find them in my local Home Depot, so I just ordered them offline or online in that. All of that stuff I will find links to and put it down in the description, so that if you want to do something like this for yourself, you will have direct links to that. Now just remember, if I'm affiliates to any of them, I will probably make a commission off them potentially, so that money goes back into the channel here and any of the builds. So thanks for your support on that. A couple things to note when I'm building inside of here. I do have space restrictions. So the PVC itself, the pieces are 10-foot length, and I can't use them as they are. I can't use 10 pieces total, or 10-foot pieces. Essentially what I'm going to do is build an enclosure around the car. So you can imagine this is my hatchback. I'm going to build this 17 feet long, which will go from the garage door to just inside the door here. I'm going to make it 8 foot tall because I'm roughly 6 foot. That'll give me a little hair clearance. And then side to side I can make this 10 foot. Now the connectors themselves will be an additional about 3 inches when you put them on the ends. So just note this will really be more like 10 foot 3, but that'll be okay. So that 17 feet will be to the inside of this track, and it will come approximately about 1 foot inside this door, which gives me the chance to actually walk around the enclosure and get into that door, because that goes into the electrical room, the water system and all that. So you can see I've got a little bit of a tunnel here between the car and some other stuff. It'll give me enough room to walk around it. Looking side to side, that garage door is about 9 feet wide, so it's going to stick out about 6 inches on either side, which is fine. And then you can see I have no height clearance. I could make this 10 foot tall, but really it just makes it more difficult to take apart and reinstall if I want to do this later. So 8 foot is going to be easy enough to do. All right, so if you can actually accommodate a 20 foot long by 10 wide by 10 tall, kind of your sanding or painting thing into your garage, you really don't have to cut anything. But now because I'm going to actually make this shorter, I'm going to make it 17 long, I'm going to make it about 10 wide, and I'm going to make it 8 foot tall, I do need to cut some of these down. So I'm going to go ahead and use just basically a skill saw, and the blade itself is kind of dull in that, so it will go through plastic no problem. Just remember, plastic will get everywhere. So I've got a bin put under here. You can use a hacksaw, a cutoff wheel, whatever works for you to do. You can just cut them down to size. So mark them from the end, whatever size you need, trim them off, and then we'll start putting everything together inside the garage. All right, so you can see kind of how this is going to be laid out. So you've got a couple pieces on the ground there. You've got on the bottom, you got a center. You've got another 2 pieces there on the bottom, fronts and the uprights. So now in order to put this together, what I'm going to do is basically build out the bottom frame that sits on the floor. I've left the corners and elbows and everything laid in the sun That way they're plastic, they're not going to be brittle, they'll be warm, and they will expand a little bit. So now I can go corner by corner and piece by piece, putting on all the connectors. I will form basically the letter 8, as you can think about it, 2 squares underneath the car or on the ground. I will then attach in every little piece of upright, and then I'm going to build this all piece by piece, basically top piece by top piece by top piece, so that I can do it one at a time on a ladder, and then I will essentially build my rectangle, my big box that's going to go around it. All that will be done, and then we'll do the plastic. Okay, here's what it's going to start look like with the bottom frame on. So you've got cross pieces, you've got a fore aft piece, you've got your length across the car, and you can kind of see how it's built up. Now as you're putting this together, make sure it's a lot easier if you put your connectors on the uprights on the top before you put it in. Otherwise you get to the end down there, you can see it's laying on the ground, and I've got to do it from the ladder. Not a big problem, just to kind of makes it a little easier. Now at this point I am not gluing any of this together. I want to see how it's going to hold up before it's glued, so I'm going to at least try it this way. We'll see if I need to glue it, and I may glue it together on some of these pieces, maybe my cross pieces and that, to keep it together. That way I can easily reassemble it and I don't have to worry about losing the connectors. But for now I'm going to try it this way, at least to give me an idea of what it is. So my step ladder, you can see, is right here. I need to grab that and start connecting all these up, and I'm going to start with the garage door side. So that gives me some lean out, so if I push it all that way and it leans, I don't have to worry about it falling out the door. And then I'll start building it up piece by piece all the way around. So I'm going to build the exterior pieces and then come back in and do the cross piece last. All right, so here's your skeleton. So you can see it is basically a 3-dimensional rectangle all the way around. Now again, all these are slip fit. I did the complete perimeter piece by piece, put it all together, and now you basically have a nice rectangle, a 3D rectangle there. So now you need to go in and add in your plastic. So remember, this is 17 feet end to end, or let's call it roughly that. So you could cut pieces, it's 10 foot wide, so this is less than 10 feet across the top. So you can take let's say a 20-foot piece of plastic. You can spread it out, and then you're going to start clamping it down along the top to keep it stable. You can then do the sides. Again, these are less than 10, so you'll have overlap between the top and the bottom. And you're going to do both sides, and then you can do your ends. So what I plan to do is basically drape it between the upper and the lower. I will make the upper piece go on first. I will drape the outer vertical piece over the top so that I know that I can't get sanding dust out that way. And then what I will do is do the end pieces. Now how I'm going to get in this thing is I've got a zipper for this side here. So once this thing's pushed all the way back, you can see I've got to make a little bit of room to get in here, but I will have a zipper in this end. So I will be able to unzip it, come in, zip it down, and then my box is sealed. So I don't have to worry about dust coming in and out. So let me go get the plastic together. We'll get it cut to the length. Just going to cut 20-foot lengths, and then it'll be over 10 foot wide, and then we'll be good to go to start clamping it down with our other pieces. All right, so there you can kind of see the top roof on. Now I just went corner by corner, so I started with one, snapped it on, went to the same side, snapped it on, went to the length. So I started up in these 2 corners, drug it that way, drug it out, spread it out, and then I've had to go back and kind of balance it out. So you can kind of see it's a little longer here than in the back, but it's covered. And that length there will actually give me more room to really kind of have extra in that. So it looks like I've got a little bit too much material still hanging right up in here, so I'll probably go back and unclip that and take those apart, and then I will start putting in the vertical walls. Now I'll do the 2 sides, and then I'll probably just do the 2 ends, and then it's pretty much done. All right, so here is the finished product. Now I'll give you a stand back and look, but you can clearly see there is plastic completely surrounding the gray lady in there. It's entombed in a nice area, and everything is put up. So the finished product looks like this. Now remember, the sides are a 20-foot length, so there's extra on the ends. It's 10 foot tall, The plastic is 10 foot tall. The supporting structure is 8. So you get a little bit of overlap. And if you kind of see down on the bottom, I have roughly about a foot and a half, maybe even 2 feet there, tucked underneath. That way I don't have to worry about dust kicking out. Now if you look in here, I have already installed the zipper door. Now again, these are for greenhouses, but since we have stuff here on the property, I just snagged one of those. Now this is a stick-on zipper. You can see I've cut the back. It comes with a kit for that and everything else. So these clamps are all along there. And now it's time to go in and check it out. So pull it to the side, step in, and now you can see I've got a nice, clear, it's definitely got enough light in here, but now I can sand without trying to cover the whole garage with that. So I've got the zipper top above there, so I don't have to worry about that. All you have to do is zip it down. And now I've got a completely secure sanding booth. Again, you got pieces on the floor and it overlaps, so I don't have to worry about that. Now you notice I've got this balance side to side. If I need to get on this side, what I can do is go over there from the bottom, just pull that way on all the sides, and this slides all the way over. It's very lightweight. It doesn't have a lot of weight to it, so it can easily move. And remember, they're not glued apart, so you always want to pull versus push, because you'll push them apart. So pull them together, and that'll go in. You can see it's all in here. Plenty of headroom. And if you wanted to make this a paint booth, you could cut a small filter hole in one of the bottom pieces here with a box fan either blowing in or sucking out. Either way, you could do it on side to side, and that way you could turn this really seriously into a paint booth. Pretty cheap to do, and it wouldn't be bad to operate. And in fact, I'm thinking about doing that myself if I ever go paint a car, or once I do the trim, I'll see how it works. But this way you don't have to really worry about too much stuff. You can always put, plastic under the car when you first lay it down, or you can just, drive on it and it'll be fine. All right, so I use the term cheap, and I'm going to use that loosely because cheap has a lot of different meanings to a lot of different people. The question is, what does this cost? What did the overall budget of this come out to be? So let's look at each individual piece. So the roll of plastic itself, remember, was 10 feet wide, 100 foot long, one complete roll. That was $44 for that. Now again, I only used probably somewhere in the 80 foot range. You can buy it in 25 foot lengths, but you're gonna come up just a skosh short in order to do this. So I bought the 100, it was pretty easy to do, and then I just cut it to length. So 44 bucks there. Now I bought 2 bundles of 10 of the PVC pipe. Now this is schedule 40, so it's very thin wall, and they were $1.57 each. 20 of those ends up being $31.36 total. Now I will say, if you feel like you want some more strength, you can do 2 ways. You can go a larger diameter. All of my PVC is 3/4 inch. You could go up from there from like a 1 inch or a 2 inch, whatever you feel like. Just make sure you have connectors that you can buy. Or you can go to a thicker wall, so go to a schedule 80 pipe versus the schedule 40. Now that'll be a thicker wall and it'll add more strength. This so far has been fine, but if you're gonna start hanging Bach fans or anything else from it, you may wanna go something a little bit stronger. Now the corner pieces here, which are on the bottom and the top, I have 6 of those together. Those are $2.09 a piece for a total of $12.54 total for the corner pieces. The center pieces, which are a 4-way connector, are $2.25 a piece for a total of $9 for all 4. So the snap clamps that snap onto the PVC and hold the plastic, the formula plastic, to it, these are $5 for a pack of 10. So they're technically 50 cents each, and I bought 4 of these. I used about 33 or so total, so I have a few left over that I can use elsewhere, or snap a little further on or in a couple other places. So total these were $20 together. And the last piece to it is going to be the zipper. Now these come in a 2-pack. They are $20 for 2 of them. They don't have them as an individual. I've got another use, so I'm going to take just the $10 for the zipper itself. And the grand total of this whole thing is $126.90. So let's round it up to $127. Now, is that truly cheap compared to not spending anything at all and just covering everything in dust? No. But there are complete systems out there with built-in fans and everything else that run hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. So for $127 total and about 3 hours of time, I now have myself a sanding and or paint booth. I can also add in the box fans, the filters, everything else to make this a little bit more efficient. And from that point, everything can be disassembled and put into storage for the next time. So when the Porsche gets wrapped, it does need some body work. So if I need to go through the process again, or any future car, if I build another wide body itself, I can bring it in, I can do all the sanding inside of a booth, not worry about covering anything with either sanding dust or paint or anything else. And this, as long as I take care of it, will last a long, long time, being that it's inside, out of UV, and it's halfway regulated for temperature. So hopefully that, guys, gives you some ideas for your own home shop. You can make this obviously bigger or smaller as you need to fit it inside, or you can just leave it as a 10 by 20 by 10 and make it pretty easy just to kind of snap everything together, hang the plastic, and get to work. So with that, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching Basin Motorsports. On to other projects.